Hi guys, welcome to Fluently Speaking with Bola. My name is Omobolani Adeshi, and today we are doing another reading session. Remember the last reading session where we read a book by Francine Rivers. We learned new words after or while reading the book An Echo in the Darkness by Francine Rivers. Well, today we would be taking it to another level. We would be reading a book by the Nobel Laureate, the very first to actually receive that title in Africa, Wole Soyinka, the Nobel Laureate. And his book, You Must Set Forth at Dawn, is the book we're going to be reading today. And we're going to be learning new words as well from the book. The book actually gives a vivid picture, a vivid description of what happened before the Civil War that happened in 1966, and also how we went into exile, how the events that happened, the events that led to the Civil War, and of course the things that happened after the war. You'd find everything. It's a very interesting read, actually. I've read it once, and now I'm trying to refresh my memory because it was a long time ago when I read it. So I'm trying to refresh my memory by reading it again. But today we're just going to be reading the part two of the book. And as we go on, you would be seeing the list of the new words right here. I'll list them out, and also you'd get to see the meaning, the pronunciation of the words as I read. Okay, so let's get to it. It was to be expected that the military coup d'etat of January 15, 1966, the first in the stable, moderate, democratic, exemplar, the giant of Africa, would divide the Nigerian nation more sharply than any other event in its 6 years of full independence. Up till 1914, the British had ruled present-day Nigeria as two distinct protectorates, the North and the South. In the march towards independence, however, the South was split in two, the East and the West. After independence, the Western government allowed the Midwest people their own region, thus turning the South into three regions: East, West, and Midwest. The North, a mostly Muslim region, remained intact, culturally distinct, quite apart from religion from the South. It was this North, with a largely feudal and conservative outlook, that had held political power since independence in 1960. The coup changed all of that, effectively pitting the North against the South. The coup had taken a bloody toll on the North, which lost several of its senior military officers and political leaders. The Sardauna of Sokoto, premier of the northern region, a public enigma behind the facial seclusion of his Arabian turban, was shot dead in his palace. Some of his wives were also casualties. The first prime minister of the independent nation, Tafawa Balewa, also from the north, was abducted and executed. So was the minister of finance, the flamboyant Chief Festus Okotie Ebo, albeit from the Midwest. Several killings, objectively considered, were not remotely essential to the success of the coup. In the West, however, the wild, wild West, where the people had inhaled nothing but flames at close quarters for most of the preceding years, the coup was a hand of salvation, and they did not especially care by what means it was extended or how blood-stained it was. Mostly, there were jubilations to the Southeast and West and Midwest, while the North was plunged into mourning and into a deep, visceral distrust and resentment of the South. The Eastern region earned the greatest loathing from the stricken North, since it soon became noticeable that the leadership of the coup was mostly Igbo, the dominant population of the East. In addition, the Eastern political leadership had been left untouched. There were some days of a standoff between the rebels and the military command structure, headed by General Aguiyi Ironsi, himself an Igbo. The rebel leaders, mostly mid-ranking officers, eventually surrendered to his authority, and Aguiyi Ironsi emerged as Nigeria's first military head of state. Once he felt confidently installed, he imprisoned the leaders but prevaricated over what to do with them. Bring them to trial, simply dismiss them from the army, or set them free. To many Nigerians, mostly in the south, they were heroes. To the northerners, they were murderous villains. Eventually, the north rose up in reprisals. In May the same year, killed several Igbo and other southern residents in their midst and touched their homes and businesses. The Igbo fled to their homeland in the east, but as the wave of killing subsided, they were persuaded to return and resume normal life in their adopted homeland. This uprising did not involve a military coup. However, the General Aguiyi Ironsi remained in power. The counter-coup of July that same year was the bloodiest yet. The commander-in-chief, Aguiyi Ironsi, was abducted from the State House during an official visit to the West and killed, together with his host, the military governor, Lieutenant Colonel Adekunle Fajuyi. Many other Igbo officers lost their lives, often in a gruesome manner. Some of them, suspected participants in the January coup, were dragged from prison detention and butchered in the streets. Fajuyi had been appointed first military governor of the Western region following the January 66 coup. I had struck up a rapport with him in his first months in office. Our first meeting was at his request. Perhaps he was curious to meet the man who was alleged to have held up a radio station. This encounter led to others. He attended my premiere production of Kungi's Harvest in the Arts Theatre of the University of Ibadan and was full of schemes for the development of the region, so unexpectedly placed under his charge. It was quite in the character of this officer, whom I came to know so well in such a short time, that when the coup makers broke into his residence to arrest his commander-in-chief and guest, he refused to hand him over and insisted on accompanying him. For his gallantry, he underwent the same fate as his superior. They were both taken to a forest outside Ibadan, cruelly tortured and executed. His end would later wring a poetic tribute out of me. When the killings were more or less over, power reverted to the hands of northern officers, their Igbo colleagues being thoroughly routed and decimated. This was when the name of an officer named Murtala Muhammad first came into Nigerian lore. He was widely rumored to have masterminded the counter-coup and was expected to take over power. However, a young officer from a minority Christian group in the north, Yakubu Gowon, ended up as Nigeria's new head of state. And there, with a shift of power, the nation hoped that the bloodletting would cease, but no. Interesting read, isn't it? There's so much packed in this book. And I hope you've been able to learn new words as I've been displaying them right here. Let me know which of these words you've heard before. Which of them are you learning for the first time in the comment section? And please do not forget to subscribe, like, share, drop your comments, and tell others about this channel. It's good to have more subscribers to make the family bigger, you know. Let people learn what you're learning too. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time. Don't forget to watch my other videos here and here. I'll see you in one of those videos. Bye.